All right, it was the game of the tournament, Duke versus UConn. Each and every year there's like a game or two that kind of defines the NCAA tournament. There have been some good games in this tournament, like both games with High Point, against Wisconsin the first round, then Arkansas, great games. Santa Clara, Kentucky was a great game. My favorite game of the tournament still was Vandy and Nebraska in the second round. And there's been other good, solid games, but this game with UConn and Duke was just is the game of the tournament. And I don't know how you could deny that at this point because just two massive brands, two great teams going at it, and with a high stakes game here, going with a trip to the Final Four on the line. Um, and it just it had everything you want: a comeback, crazy finish, heartbreak. Right, this is what makes the NCAA tournament. So it was an awesome game here, and UConn moves on, and just a thrilling game. And you may see, the TV kind of shining on my face here. I actually have the UConn Duke game replay here on the TV, but man, this game was it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Well, let's start with winners first. Let's talk about UConn here. UConn. Look, I don't like UConn. To be honest, I do not like UConn. One of the reasons why is because they win, and I'm tired of them winning. I want some others to win. But the other reason is I'm just not a huge fan of Danny Hurley. I just do not like the way he carries himself, like the air he puts out. It just seems like he just seems very arrogant to me. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but like I don't know if it's the winning that's gotten to him or what, but like he just seems very arrogant. And I feel like UConn's almost taking that on, like, hey, we're better than you. Um, and that's just kind of, it seems to me like on the court too, his antics, and like if he doesn't get a call, any call that goes against UConn, he's just like, beside himself. Anyways, um, not a huge fan of Danny Hurley, just not a huge fan of UConn. But listen, there is absolutely no denying that this is one of the best programs in the country. And Danny Hurley, I'm willing to say that he's the best coach in the nation. I don't think you can deny that at this point with what he's done over the last couple years and what he's done with this team. Look, to me, this is not, and that's weird to say this because I think UConn's like 34-5 or something like that. Great record. They've had some great wins this year. This is a good team, but like, I don't think this team matches the two championship teams from a couple years ago, the back-to-back championship teams. I don't think this team matches those teams. I think those national championship teams would honestly whoop this team. They're a little bit more inexperienced, this team, although they're still way more experienced than Duke is, and we'll talk about that in a second. But um, I just don't think this team has, the even the athleticism as the previous teams, and the quality of like star player as the previous teams had, but still a good team. But that makes it all the more impressive that here they are in the Final Four, and I've just got to hand it to them. Again, I don't love UConn, but like you just got to hand it to them for this run that they've been on, because every game that they have played in the NCAA tournament, they could have lost, and you may even say should have lost several of them. Like Furman was a dogfight in the first round against a 15 seed. Could have lost that game. UCLA looks like a blowout, but it was actually really close throughout. Of course, that Michigan State game, they were ahead, but Michigan State fought back and like had chances to win the game in the end, but UConn made the plays. And of course, this game against Duke, they easily could have lost this game, should have lost this game, but just made the plays, kept fighting, and won. And like you just gotta admire the way that this team has fought, and has been on its heels many times, and almost looked like it was going to be the end, and just keeps making the plays to win. And I think it's a part of that championship DNA. And I think that's where, like I was just saying, the experience, although this is not as experienced team as previous teams like that we've seen, but it's still got Alex Caravan, who's won two championships. You've got Terrace Reed, who's played on other teams, has not won a championship or anything like that. Other guys like Solo Ball and Demery have played, and so I say they're not that experienced. They actually are a very experienced team. Um, I guess what I mean, maybe like championship experience, but um, still, this team has just, you got to look at them and just, man, that they've just fought and really, really played hard. And when their backs are against the wall, it's just amazing to see this team on this run. I don't think I didn't pick them to make the Final Four, and here they are here in the Final Four again. And I think they're 18-1 in the last three NCAA tournaments. Just an insane record. Again, Danny Hurley's one of the best coaches. He's got one of the best programs. People want to play. These players want to play for him. So just hats off to UConn for getting to this point and winning this game. I mean, like, you're down 19 points to one of the best teams in the country. You fight your way back and you find a way to win on an insane shot. Braylon Mullins, what a play! And everybody's giving him the credit, but you gotta think about what Alex Caravan did there. Like, when the ball was deflected and Mullins got it, he passed it ahead to Caravan. I think most players in Caravan's situation are going to say, I'm taking this shot. Like, I don't care what happens, I'm taking the shot. He had just hit a three. He is the leader of this team. He's won 2 championships with UConn. Instead of taking the shot, he passes it back to a freshman who's at the logo, and he pops the shot, and it goes in, and there's no time for Duke really to do anything. I mean, it just, again, credit UConn for making the right plays and making it tough on Duke down the stretch. What a game. What a game this was. So UConn's off to the Final Four, and we'll talk about the Final Four in a video here soon. Me and Dalton are going to make our predictions. As far as Duke goes, man, it's hard to put into words, how devastating this loss is. When any team to get this far and you lose, you're so close, you lose like this, man, it hurts so much, hurts so bad. And you could see it in all the coaches' faces, in the interviews, all the players' faces in their interviews. You could just see it, you could feel it for this team. And listen, look, Duke has not won a championship since 2015. Like, they're going on over a decade now of not winning championships, and that just doesn't cut it at Duke, and they're just coming up short every single year. And, listen, Elite Eights and Final Fours, they're great, but that's not enough for Duke. Probably the best program in all the country, year after year, bringing in the best talent. You got good coaches, and they come up short. And like under John Shire in particular, they're now taking on this I guess DNA, this attitude, not attitude, but like, I don't know what the right word is. They're taking on this personality of like struggling to win big games when they've got the lead. Like, and then this is not original with me. Like, people have said this already, but like going back to last year against Houston, their last 4 losses. All right, against Houston last year in the Final Four, you're up double digits. All right, looking like you're going to win this game, not comfortably, but pretty comfortably, and with all things considered, in the Final Four game, and you lose that game in a heartbreaker, just absolutely fail and crumble in the end to Houston. All right, double-digit lead against Texas Tech this year. You've got a double-digit lead, and you could win this game. You're up by 17 points. They crumble and lose the game to Texas Tech. North Carolina. You got North Carolina up by, I think it was 13 at North Carolina. They were in control of the game, crumble in the end, lose on a buzzer beater. And then you got this game. You're up by 19 points in a huge game, Final Four spot on the line. You choke. And you lose in a heartbreaker. I mean, just one of the worst ways to lose right there. Losing this game like that. And it just keeps happening under John Shire. And I don't know what it is. Is it the coaching, like, in these situations? Is it the players not being put in the right position by these coaches? Is it the players just not making the right plays? It's a coincidence these players just keep kind of crumbling under the pressure. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of both, probably. But man, this is becoming a problem. Like, this is something that's got to be recognized and addressed by Duke, and I don't know if they're not working on late game situations enough or what, but like, this is an issue. Um, just an absolute heartbreaker. I kind of feel bad for John Shire, honestly. Like losing these games like this. And look, people are blaming Caden Boozer. You know, um, First of all, it wasn't Caden Boozer's fault that they lost this game. Yes, he made a bad play in the end. I'll talk more about that in a second. But like Duke's whole team crumbled and allowed UConn to come back down 19 points. Like that wasn't just Caden Boozer. Like the whole team is responsible for allowing themselves to get in that position where they were in a stressful situation where pressure's on and you've got to make the right plays in split seconds. And they didn't make the right plays. And so, yes, Caden Boozer had the big, you know, play at the end that was a mess up. Like the whole team is responsible and coaches are responsible for allowing that to happen. In the end, should never have been that situation to begin with. So but look, everybody's blaming Caden Boozer, saying like, man, they should have just held on to the ball and like they would have won the game. And he shouldn't have thrown the ball ahead. They should have called a timeout. All these things. Yeah, like you should have. Okay, it's easy to say that, folks. This is a D1 basketball game with very high stakes, and you have not minutes to think about what you're going to do with the ball. You have split seconds, especially in a late game situation where like you know anything can happen and like the pressure is on you and defenders are coming at you. You have split seconds to think about it. And I think anybody in that situation is going to do what Caden Boozer did, is try to throw it ahead. Even the coaches on the sideline are like, throw it ahead. There are two wide open players. Wide open players. If you get them the ball, the game is over. You win the game. And they're going to go dunk it and go up by 2 possessions, or they're going to get fouled, or the clock's just going to run out. There wasn't a lot of time left. So, like, you get the ball to these guys, the game's over. That's probably what he's thinking. That's what everybody's thinking on the Duke bench. And I think anybody who was in the game, you see two wide open players, you're going to get them the ball. You're going to win the game, right? Like, I get it sounds nice. Hey, just hold the ball, or just call a timeout. But in the heat of the moment, pressure's on, they're running right at you. To me, I think I would have done the same thing, trying to throw the ball ahead, win the game. And listen, this has happened. How many times have you seen in a game where a player gets loose and they just throw it ahead and the clock runs out, or they go make a dunk, they go dunk it, go up by 2 possessions, game is over? That happens all the time in late game situations, and that could have easily happened here. And had it happened, nobody would be talking about Caden Boozer's pass. Had he completed that pass and they went and dunked it or the time would have ran out, nobody would have said anything. But since it got blocked, we're saying, oh, Caden Boozer shouldn't have done that. They should have just held the ball. They should have called the timeout. It's part of the game, right? Like, it's split second decisions. The heat is on, and you can't think about it. You just got to do it. The problem was not making the pass. The problem was the way in which the pass was made. You don't make a pass like that, over the top with defenders jumping at you. A simple bounce pass there would have won the game. Like, even if the ball would have gone out of bounds, like, I think that would have been tough for UConn to get in position to make a shot with Duke's defense set. So I don't know. I don't put it on Caden Boozer. Yes, he made a mistake, but like most people probably would have in that situation. Just a heartbreaker for Duke. And they're just coming up short, and it's not going to cut it at Duke. And I know John Shire's a great coach, great young coach. I think that he, deserves to be in this position, and he's done a great job with this program. But they've got to get it done here in coming years. And I think this was a really, really good team. I think it was better than last year's team, to be honest. And just came up short again. And they were better than UConn, and they should have won that game, and they came up short. So sets up a really intriguing Final Four. I'm glad it's not all one seeds, but it's about as close as it can get to that. UConn and Illinois, great matchup, a rematch, and then of course, man, I think pretty much the championship game, Michigan and Arizona. I wish they were on different sides of the bracket, but let's not leave Illinois or UConn out of it, because these teams are good teams. So just a heartbreaker for Duke, but man, an awesome game, an all-time shot, all-time game that we're going to be talking about for years to come. So look forward to this look for a Final Four video coming out from me and Dalton here in the coming days. Take care. God bless.